Welcome to What's the Story Dublin, the official Dublin City Council podcast with me, your host, Deirdre Malumbi. This podcast deep dives into the work of all the moving parts that make up Dublin City Council. It also shares news of the Council's latest initiatives and exciting events. In today's episode, we're looking at Comhairle na nÓg. I am joined today by Aaron Kiernan, who is Chairperson of Comhairle na nÓg. Aaron, you are very welcome to What's the Story Dublin.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
Of course, we're so glad to have you here today. And Aaron, for those who are totally unfamiliar with it, you're going to explain to us what is Comhairle na nÓg. So first of all, what does Comhairle na nÓg mean?
So etymologically, Comhairle na nÓg translates to Council of Youth, and we are a youth council, and I am a member of Dublin City Comhairle na nÓg, which is in the jurisdiction of Dublin City Council. However, throughout the country, there are 31 Comhairle across the country, with some counties having more than one.
Brilliant. And can you tell us a bit about when Comhairle na nÓg started, a little bit about that history there?
Of course, yeah. So Comhairle na nÓg was founded in 2002 by the City and County Development Board, or CDBS, as part of the National Children's Strategy.
And who can get involved in Comhairle na nÓg? So it means youth council, but when you say youth, you know, what kind of age group are we talking about here?
The allocated age group is 12 to 17 years old. And basically the way you join is you attend one of the annual youth conferences that are on at different times, and you join the one that is in the jurisdiction of your local council.
And how many of these kind of annual youth conferences would there be a year? So there are like a few opportunities to join during any year, yeah?
Yes, so each Comhairle hosts their own annual youth conference at different times between October and November usually, just before Christmas to take on new members.
Brilliant. And what sort of issues and policies are discussed by the council? Because I suppose you can't help but naturally feel, are there certain topics that are kind of off the table for young people to talk about, or is it about getting them engaged and kind of talking about everything?
So it is entirely youth run. So at the annual youth conference, or beforehand actually, we choose as a group roughly 3 or 4 topics that we would like the young people who attend the youth conference to vote on, to see what they would like to see us work on. And they tend to be issues that are both valuable to us and the wider youth of the country. So, for example, this year coming, our topics would be child poverty, road safety and youth spaces throughout Dublin.
Great.
So in November, around 150 young people will vote on what they would like to see us work on, regardless of whether they get into the council or not.
And what kind of typically happens when you get the council together? Is it kind of about, you know, more debating kind of the pros and cons around certain topics? Is it kind of trying to like delve in deep and, you know, figure out, you know, new angles, maybe deeper issues that wouldn't be kind of immediately, you know, obvious?
So throughout the year, there tends to be kind of a cycle. So in the first couple of months after the annual youth conference, we decide kind of what way do we want to take the topic, and we take on board ideas, and we usually hold an expert panel. And they give us insights on their experience and their ideas of about the topic, and we really find that valuable. And then throughout the year, once we kind of narrow down what we want to do, we can see what can we do that will make the biggest impact and improve the lives of young people for the better, or educate them on a topic.
That's really amazing. How many members of Comhairle na nÓg, well, kind of, you know, talking about individual branches here, I suppose. So how many members would the Dublin City Comhairle na nÓg have in any one given year, or does it like fluctuate? How does that work?
It fluctuates, but it tends to stay in between around the 60-50 mark.
Okay, great.
And we have such a large number because it's all based on population density. So, of course, Dublin City would have a higher population density than, let's say, Carlow, Comhairle na nÓg.
I can see exactly why you are Chairperson of Dublin City Comhairle na nÓg, because you articulate everything so well and so plainly. So what does your role as Chairperson of Dublin City Comhairle na nÓg actually entail?
So my role as Chairperson of Dublin City Comhairle na nÓg includes a couple of different facets. So I would speak at different events as a representative as the whole Comhairle. And I also try to portray myself as a positive and influential and approachable role model or figure. And of course, nobody's perfect, but I try my best as well. And I also tend to be quite reliable.
And how, so at what stage did you kind of become involved with Comhairle and Oak before you became chairperson?
So I joined Comhairle and Oak at the 2023 Annual Youth Conference. And that was my first year. And it's just been so positive since then. It's been amazing.
Oh, brilliant, brilliant. Do you have any plans for what you're going to do next with Comhairle and Oak as chairperson, or?
We're kind of coming to the end of our term now, so we do have a couple of more events coming up quite soon, actually. So I'm really trying to, make my mark and leave my mark in Comhairle as chairperson. So that's ultimately my aim for the rest of my term.
Brilliant, brilliant. I'm curious about what makes Dublin City Comhairle and Oak different to, say, like other branches in your experience.
So ultimately, we all have the same common aim. We're all trying to achieve and get to the same finish line, which is ultimately a more positive and better Ireland. However, we do represent a prodigious amount of young people, like I said previously, due to our population density, and we also have the biggest influence and we reach the most amount of people. That's really it. So ultimately we all are kind of the same. We're not better than any other Comhairle. We're equal and all just trying to accomplish the same thing.
Brilliant. That's a beautiful way to put it. You mentioned there kind of about events, and what are some of the events that the Dublin City branch of Comhairle and Oak has been involved with recently, if you can tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, so this year the most august event that we've been involved in was the Teen Square project in Tokyo, which was hosted by the Tokyo Metropolitan Government in August, and that was part of the wider Tokyo 2050 strategy. And during the summer, 5 delegates went over to discuss a child-friendly city and share their visions and discuss with the youth from other countries as well as Japan and Tokyo.
That's really amazing. So there were some of you that actually went over to Tokyo to be involved with the event?
Yes, and it was hosted in the Irish Embassy, I believe, the Irish House in Tokyo, and that was quite an amazing experience for those who went over.
Oh, I'd say so.
And also during the summer we attended a seminar on sunbeds and the dangers that was consisted of an expert panel of doctors, dermatologists and an Australian politician. And the reason the politician was there because recently Australia have banned sunbeds and they kind of guided us through the process of how they eliminated sunbeds in the country and how that kind of worked out for them. We were also told a very emotional story by a skin cancer survivor as a result of constant use of sunbeds and how that still affects her life.
Wow, that's really incredible. Do you have other kind of events that are coming up, say, between now and the end of the year? Or
yeah, so on Tuesday, actually, where we will have the privilege of going to City Hall, where we will have a debate with local councillors in Dublin City and the Lord Mayor. Wow. And in the debate, we will actually cover topics that were discussed in Tokyo, actually. On the 19th of September, which is next Thursday, we'll be hosting a culture night, which is part of our working topic, which is inclusion and diversity, making way for kindness. And ultimately, our aim is to show young people around the city how important and how interesting, how wonderful the cultures that we see in Dublin City are.
Fantastic. So many incredible initiatives that you guys are involved with. What do you think that young people get out of getting involved with Comhairle and Oak and participating in these sorts of events?
Ultimately, there's so many positive aspects of being involved with Comhairle and Oak. You get an abundance of leadership experience because the council, as I said previously, is entirely youth run and we take the lead on that. And also the social experience and confidence boost is incredible. When I joined Comhairle 2 years ago, I would have been very hesitant to speak. And now here I am, chairperson, doing a podcast.
Yeah. We're so delighted to have you. What are some of the impacts that Comhairle and Oak has kind of had over the years?
Over the last 3 years, Comhairle and Oak has, in particular Dublin City Comhairle and Oak, has had an incredible impact. For example, 3 years ago, the working topic was period stigma, and ultimately the council aimed to tackle period stigma and show that it is completely natural and it shouldn't be an uncomfortable topic to talk about. And last year, our working topic was fast gas, or nitrous oxide, which is an increasing problem amongst youth and the recreational use of it. So what we did was, in the end, was we created an education pack for the Mater Hospital and local schools in the area to kind of show young people the dangers and the risks of recreationally using fast gas that's not for their intended purposes. And that kind of really worked for us because we were educating young people by young people.
And Aaron, what would be the handiest way for people to get involved with Comhairle and Oak? What would be kind of the contacts there?
So ultimately, it tends to be that the schools that promote Comhairle. However, Comhairle and Oak also has a website where you can see the upcoming AYCs. And as long as you're living in the jurisdiction of your local council, well, then you register on the Comhairle and Oak website, which makes it very handy these days. And that would be the handiest way ultimately to get involved.
Fantastic. Brilliant. Aaron, I always like to kind of finish the podcast by kind of looking to the future and what's next. So I have kind of two questions in that regard. Firstly, I'd like to ask you, where would you like to see Comhairle and Oak go next?
I really like that question because there are so many bright and intelligent and active young people in the city and throughout the country, and there'll be so many more to come. And ultimately, in my opinion, I would like to see Comhairle and Oak go more international, as we can see of how well the Tokyo 2025 project went. And I'd like to see Comhairle and Oak go to Europe or Asia more to learn from those countries in the way how their youth see their country and the social aspects and that kind of stuff, so that we can improve Ireland for the better and ultimately create a better infrastructure with transport and safety and that kind of aspect. However, ultimately, I think Comhairle and Oak is in a really good place and we have a really good audience and a really large impact across the country. So I'm quite happy where it is.
Brilliant. And, you know, speaking of what you were saying about kind of the international work you guys are doing, hopefully that would kind of inspire some, like, you know, collaboration and future projects as well.
Yeah, I think that would be really beneficial to not only the individuals who go over there, but also Ireland as a country. Because if you think about it, our generation who are in this council, we are the future of this country. And we're the ones that are going to be sitting where the Taoiseach is and the President is. And we're going to be the ones making the decisions for the Irish people and people in general and future generations to come. So I think it'd be really beneficial for us as a council, for the future of Ireland and as for the person in general, to learn from these cultures and the way they live and how their country functions as a whole.
Absolutely. That's absolutely beautifully put, Aaron. I suppose my very last question for you is, how do you feel, you know, your experience at Comhairle and Oak the last few years, your experience in Chairperson, how do you see that kind of standing to you in the future if you were to look into a crystal globe in a few years from now?
If I were to look into a crystal globe right now, I see myself in the future, hopefully, being where the Taoiseach is in his position, where I can make the biggest impact, most positive impact on the people of Ireland and the future generations to come. And when I'm dead, long gone, buried under, all I want to be remembered for is the good that I've done. And I think that Comhairle and Oak can really stand to me with that, no matter where I go in life. That's
the perfect note to leave it on, Aaron. Thank you so much for joining us. So much food for thought there. And I think that whether you're young or you know someone who could get involved, I think that after today, we've encouraged some recruits to Comhairle and Oak. So thank you so much for that.
I really hope that we did. And thank you very much. It's been a pleasure being on this podcast.
And thanks again to today's guest, Aaron Kiernan. I'd also like to extend my thanks to our audio engineer and editor, Robert Fay. This podcast was produced by myself, Deirdre Malumbi, and Michael Ryan, and recorded in the Central Library Studio. Be sure to spread the word if you're enjoying What's the Story Dublin, and to like and subscribe for future episodes. Slán go fóill.